The number one question that I always get is, when is the right time to tell people that I'm trans?
Oh crap. I've been re-recording this so often this bottle is almost empty. Here's 5 things you need to do before coming out. This is not one of the things that you need to do. First, talk to a professional about your symptoms. Everybody is always saying like your feelings are valid, but what the frick does that mean? It means let yourself feel feelings. Sometimes you need to like goon out and like order pizza and watch YouTube all night long. Sometimes it's like a self-care day where you're just like touching grass, you know? Give yourself permission to feel and acknowledge emotions. It can be happy time, it can be sad time. It can be less scary when you're talking to a smart person who can help break it down for you. You can literally have a PhD person in your pocket and help you out with this sort of stuff, because dysphoria is like really, really hard. If you're wondering if you're trans, guess what? You probably are. I spoiled it for you. You're trans. But you need to make sure it's not like something else that's going on. Like, oops, you actually have a different like neurological brain disorder, or you feel depressed and maybe your brain can benefit from like certain medication. So it's really important to do like some like introspection and make sure this is really what you need. You'll see cross-dressing in like movies. They'll hire like a lot of like black actors and put them in dresses, and that was like a whole genre for like a whole decade. Everybody gets really happy when they see somebody in a costume or they're like pretending to like, you know, do something like that. Dysphoria is like when you're actually like, your brain is born in the wrong body and it's like, it causes all these other complications and it's like really complicated. That's why it's really cool to have a professional to be like, oh, this is what's going on. That's why it's called a transition. Talking to a professional honestly about your feelings can help you figure out what you need. And it's perfectly okay to not have every detail of your life figured out. Just picture who you want to be later in life. In my head, I always picture like this Grand Theft Auto character. It sounds really bad, but like, you know how you can do like a character creation thing? That's like what I pictured in my head, and it never matches up of what I was as a kid. Because as a kid, I was a boy, and I was like, oh, when I grow up, I'm gonna be a man. That was never like the connection that I made in my head. It was always like, oh, I'm gonna be this woman, and I'm gonna have this cool house and everything. So it's always important to picture, where do you want to be later on in life? Maybe in a happy house, hot as fuck, cool job, top 500 Overwatch player. And it's important to ask for help. That's a really big issue for me. If you need help passing, there's surgeries to help. One of my favorite quotes is from like a voice feminization trainer, and she said, you can say to yourself that you are female, but unless you're getting the same feedback from the rest of the world, you will be subjecting yourself to a lot of psychic trauma. So it's like, plan what you want. Plan what you need, what you want. Look at what needs to be worked on. For me, it was my face. I got facial feminizing surgery, and it was a lot of freaking work. And I'm gonna be getting voice surgery because I've tried years of voice training and it didn't really work to feminize my voice. And also my appearance, that's something that's like, I'm always working on that. Hygiene could be a big one. It's okay to acknowledge like, oh, sometimes you're lacking in certain things because there's solutions for it. It might take time, but it's like, it's totally doable. I didn't know what transitioning was like when I was a kid, so I googled it. I didn't have health insurance, so I googled it. I didn't know where to get HRT or how any of that worked, so I googled it. I didn't know how to dress to pass, and then I looked at my own YouTube channel and I figured it out. That's a self-plug. Your goals are just a lot of really small steps, and info is everywhere. As long as you talk to a professional along the way, everything will just work out and it'll be great. You can even get like a virtual therapy, so you can just be in your underwear just doing it, like gooning out at your own desk, you know what I mean? If you want a hot body, it all starts with like eating 1 leaf and then being happy that you ate 1 leaf. Then repeat it and do a little bit more, or don't. It all builds up eventually, but you don't want to be like mad at yourself. You just want to look at the positives and be like, yo, I ate that 1 leaf, that was pretty healthy, I freaking did it. Even if you cover all your veggies in ranch, that's a really big step in the right direction. That's great. Having transitioning goals is great. So you know like how things are going and what's gonna be coming in the future, and it's like, what's next? And then also, having goals outside of transitioning is also important, especially for other people that are like,
What, you want to change your gender?
what's next? And then be like, oh, I just want like a normal job and a normal life, you know? So having goals outside of transitioning is also important. Like, what do you want to do with your free time? Or like, what do you want to do as a job? Are you ever gonna get some bitches? Do you ever feel nervous?
Are you high right now?
It's important to talk to a professional about it, and then they can understand yourself, and then they can hook you up with stuff. Like one time, I got a freaking job and I changed my entire life. Just reaching out to people for help might create opportunities that you wouldn't even expect. The next step is to avoid HRT. Imagine like messing with your brain chemistry. That's crazy. There's like no like peer-reviewed studies, just a bunch of like Discord gooners being like,
oh, I know where you can get illegal stuff and this is how you do it.
I've never heard of good outcomes from like DIY do-it-yourself HRT. This was one person who was like taking estrogen for animals, and they're injecting it to themselves. And it was working for like a little while, and then they had a stroke, and then their whole life was ruined because they're paralyzed from like half of the body. It is crazy. Don't do DIY. Anybody that promotes that is like, what are you doing? Would you rather trust like a Discord mod giving you medical advice or a doctor giving you medical advice, and if they get it wrong, you can sue them for millions of dollars, and then you can get everything fixed and back to normal, hopefully. This field of research is really new, and there's like mixed information everywhere. So it's really important that like if you're gonna be looking up information, which you should, on like hormone replacement therapy, HRT, you look at multiple sources and you kind of see like what looks legit and what doesn't look legit. And then if you have a doctor or like a professional, then you can run it by them to see what's going on. This is a really brand new field, and if you're messing with your brain chemistry, there may be like no going back and you're gonna have some permanent disability, and that's gonna suck. There's no such thing as a magical pill, and I hate this like pedestal of like HRT that gets like prompted for everybody. There are like lifestyle changes that you can do and like make it easier for you to reach your goals. HRT is just like a tool that like amplifies everything else that you're doing. The next step is going to be go incognito. It's like having a sleeper build. Imagine transitioning without anybody knowing. It's like driving a base model Audi RS3 with a stage 2 tune. Nobody's gonna know. It's so cool. It feels like secretly learning a new language, and then suddenly, just out of nowhere, just start speaking that new language, and everybody's like, what? It's so cool. You aren't a musician until you know how to play a song or whatever, you know? Even if it's like a Minecraft parody song. To normies, changing your gender is so freaking crazy. They can't understand, like, why would you do that? Even if you give them the symptoms, maybe they're like, oh, maybe there's like another solution. What normies can understand is like, if you're already working towards your goals and it looks like you're a good fit for it, they're gonna be like, yeah, that makes sense. So just keep working towards it, and you don't have to let anybody know. Just be incognito about it, and out of nowhere be like, I've got a gun, but without the gun. A lot of normies only really care about like physical impressions. So if they can see that you're presenting female and dressing in ways that emphasize your feminine features, their goblin brains will find it more easier to like categorize you into like your intended gender. Could be now before doing any work on yourself can be much more like psychologically damaging. Psychologically damaging. Finally, how and when to come out. This one is slightly more serious, but like important. So I'm gonna be less memeing. At this point, you want to be an HRT before you come out for a good while. Have a good understanding on how to pass. You might even have some like surgeries coming up. I didn't come out until I had to. I had like facial feminization surgery, and I needed my sister to drive me to the hospital, and I needed my other sister to take care of me for like the aftercare. And that's when I had to come out. But I had been on like an HRT for like a year and a half before I came out. So this means your appearance will probably have started changing without you telling anybody that you've came out. Even if you haven't even like started like presenting yet as your preferred gender. Like whenever my family and I would go out to like dinner, they would categorize me as female. They'd be like, hey ladies, how's it going? You know what I mean? And like I wasn't even publicly out as trans or like a woman. I was still like trying to present as a male, but like I wasn't doing a good job apparently. So that part is really important. So at this stage, before you even like come out, your appearance is like slightly different. And like I understand that people have like different RNG, people like spawn with different loot and the situation is different, but at least you have a PhD person in your back pocket. So when you come out to like people, you can be like, I have a doctor and we've been doing this for like a while, and it's been like overseen by professionals, and everything is like calculated and like really chill, and everything is really safe, and the whole point is so that I can live a normal life and everything can be Gucci. If you're talking to like a family or friend, it may be best to explain your symptoms specifically first. So as soon as you start like, oh, I'm ready to come out, I'm gonna tell my friends and family what the situation is. It's really cool if you talk about like how depressed you are. So like people can understand your symptoms a lot easier before they understand the answer. Because if the answer is really crazy, like I said, normies don't understand that changing your gender is a thing that you can do. But like you are like, I've already done the research, I've already done everything, it's okay. The goal is to live a normal life, and this is all the bad stuff that I've been going through, and we can fix it, and then we can live a normal life. Talking about the symptoms first, like I've been really depressed and I've been like seeing a doctor or whatever, people's minds change, and then they're like, oh, okay, thanks for letting me know. Like, you're like exposing yourself to me in like the really most vulnerable way. I'm not gonna shit on you on that, especially if you've been seeing a doctor and it's like you're getting shit done. It's like, I'm glad to hear it. Like, 10 out of 10. And then depending on how they take the symptoms and what you've been doing to relieve the symptoms by seeing a professional, then you can tell them like, oh, I'm transitioning now, because that seems like the best solution. So when you're ready to come out to somebody and you're like explaining your symptoms to them, that's when you know if it's safe or not to continue the conversation. Because a lot of people don't believe in like mental health, or like, oh, you don't have depression. You know what I mean? Like it's super, super sus. And if you get like negative feedback when you're like expressing your vulnerabilities, then you probably shouldn't come out all the way with them, because your wellness, your health and safety is gonna be in jeopardy, because they're gonna be like, you don't want to come out to them yet, because it's like you're gonna have a bad time and they're gonna like rage or something weird is gonna happen. If it's safe, say you're willing to transitioning, and then your appearance will continue to change. And make sure that you emphasize that your goal is to like live a normal life, and that you're putting in active work from like, and then you're like having like professionals help you and stuff to ensure like you'll be safe and that like peace of mind will be Gucci. If you don't get the reaction you expected, maybe you get like disappointment or like anger, don't burn bridges. That's like the #1 thing that like LGBT people do, is like burn bridges. You have to give people time. Again, like changing your gender to normies, it is insane. Or sometimes even saying like you have depression to normies, they'll be like, that doesn't exist. You have to be able to slowly lead your way up to be like, is it safe? Yes. Is it safe? Yes. Is it safe? Yes. If it's no, then it's like, don't continue talking. A lot of times you have to give people time when you like come out and give them like this information. Like sometimes you think it's safe and you messed up and you came out and it's like, it wasn't safe. Like you have to give people time. Like Nessie used to be a raging homophobic, and now Nessie's over here sucking big bottles of wine, if you know what I mean. Don't burn bridges with people or cut people out of your life. Keep the door open. When coming out to like acquaintances or coworkers, you can keep the details to yourself, but it may be best to give them a heads up before changing your appearance a ton, especially for like any management people or stuff. Simply say you'll be transitioning and your preferred pronouns are this, that, and that your appearance will be changing as well. Ensure that you're confident in presenting as your new gender. Confidence is like one of those things that's like, if you're confident, people are like, all right, this is probably right for you. But if you're like scared about it, then it's like, remember that like normies, goblin brains need a ton of visual reminders before they consistently refer to you with the correct pronouns, especially if they've known you for a while. They're gonna be getting your pronouns wrong on accident or on purpose. But as you keep working on yourself, it's gonna be like super weird that they call you the wrong pronouns, and it's gonna be really funny. Like for my mom, it was like really hard for her to like use my preferred pronouns and name at first. But the funny thing is, like we were at Home Depot and she was like, oh, my son is over there. And the guy looks over to me and he's like, that's a girl. The haters are gonna start losing at that point. And you can reach those goals. I think anybody can be passing. It is one of those things that's like, you just gotta work towards your goals and things will be Gucci, but you can't do it alone. That was all pretty serious, but I wanna give you good advice for those who need advice on coming out, if that makes sense. Now that you've successfully come out, this is a great time to grab that bottle of wine and celebrate. How much is left? If you guys want a good bottle of wine, here's a good one. Sheesh. Oh no, I shouldn't. I'm just kidding. I hope this video made sense, and at least you take away one thing from this video. I think there's like a lot of like bad advice on the internet saying like, oh, just be you, just do whatever you want, everything's fine. But it's like, you gotta be safe, you gotta be careful, you gotta live your best life, you gotta be hot as fuck, and you gotta do whatever the hell you gotta do. Goon out, order pizza, or hang out, chill out, do whatever you want, buns out, slut out, bussy out, and do what you gotta do, you know what I mean? That's a whole bottle of wine, baby. Alright, if you guys have any comments, maybe like you have a better way of doing things, feel free to write in the comments and we can talk about it. Honestly, I think this advice would be pretty good. Take care everybody and have a wonderful rest of your day. You know what time it is? It's 6:30 in the morning. Alright, chill out, peace out, see you guys later, bye.